Welcome to an all-new episode of the 60-Second Car. Today we are covering minute 51 of The Fast and the Furious. My name is Dan, joined as always by my co-host with the most boasts. Still haven't figured out what that means, but it doesn't really matter. Mr. Daniel.
It's a me.
And it's diesel time.
60-Second Car.
Welcome back.
Hanging on a trash can, strumming on the street
light. The beats. Love the beats. I was singing that in the interim of our theme song. You didn't hear it, but now you did. Now you know what's going on.
Now you have to.
Now you have to. Now you have to go listen to the beats from the famous show Doug, starring Doug Funny and his
Doug Funny.
starring Doug Funny and his bully Skeeter. Nope. His friend Skeeter. What was the bully's name?
Can't pull it.
God. It's like Travis or something like that. I don't know. It's some like
Travis.
name. It's like Kyle.
It's
a
always
Kyle
Travis.
name.
I know there was
Roger Klutz. Roger
Yeah.
Klutz. Yeah. Go listen to that. Go watch that. Go do all the things. And then after, watch Rocko's Modern Life and listen to all the adult humor that they throw in that show. It's a great show. What else is a great show is the 60-Second Car. Hi. How was your weekend? Or week? We did this on Tuesday? Yeah. How was your week?
It was swell. I forget where we are in time as far as the release stuff, but as of record, I went to what I called the Spooky Old Man Show with my dad, and we saw Alice Cooper and Robert Zombie.
Robert Zombie. I do love Robert Zombie.
It was a good time.
I don't know. Who else was that? Who else was the other?
It was Filter, Ministry, Alice Cooper, and Rob Zombie.
See, I really like Ministry. Ministry would
was
have been my
dope.
go-to. That would have been my reason to go for that. I love Ministry. Also Rob Zombie, but... Yeah.
I think if they weren't there, I wouldn't have pitched it to my dad, but I was just like, hey, you want to go see Rob Zombie? He's like, yes. I was like, Alice Cooper's opening. He's like, cool. I haven't seen him since 1977. I'm like, oh my God, that's right.
Yeah, Alice Cooper has been around.
Turns out he's 75 years old, still going out there and cutting his head off and swinging a snake around and stuff.
How does he sound?
He sounds like somebody yelling through gravel, but it works for the songs.
All right, that's fair enough. I mean, that's, the Rolling Stones are still touring.
They are about to put out another album soon and probably tour after that. So yeah,
I don't understand how their bones are not sand right now or just dust. But yeah, there you go.
Supposedly, Keith Richards had all his blood replaced so he can be younger or something, which sounds like some Illuminati shit. So I don't know if it's real, but whatever.
Well, okay, so that it reminds me of one of my favorite things about the show, the HBO show Silicon Valley. Did you see that at all?
Yes. Always blue. Always blue.
Always blue. Always blue. But no, like one of the final seasons, they revealed that the main bad guy dude or whatever, the CEO of Hulu. Which is basically Google from the real life, also did that with a younger, like 20-something. He would get frequent blood transfusions from this young person. And there's this whole storyline where it ends up finding out that the dude's been smoking weed and he's like, I don't know, it's some weird... The show got kind of strange at the end. But... my favorite thing about what happens in that show, especially with him, Gavin Belson, I think his name. I don't know how my memory is pulling names today. It's crazy. That doesn't happen. I've been writing content all day, and maybe that's why I just need my brain to escape somewhere else. But essentially, my favorite thing about the fact that how they built that character was they took exact quotes from tech CEOs and were like, that just writes the script for us. They would interview tech CEOs and they would be such monsters that they would just turn those interviews directly into script and that's how you got Gavin Belson. In fact, so much to the point where they had to actually cut stuff because they were like, this is too bad. This is too monstrous. We cannot have this guy say this. Yeah, it's scary, man. It's really scary.
God, I really liked that show. It got complicated,
Good show.
but I liked it.
I mean, anything for Mike Judge, I'm in. I'm full in.
Sure.
I will watch anything. I mean, Katie's favorite movie, favorite movie is a Mike Judge film. Do you know that one by chance?
Is it Office Space?
Yes, it's Office Space, which is a great film.
It's like I can't imagine Idiocracy being that high on anybody's list, so it's got to be Office Space.
Well, that's because it's probably because that turned from comedy into horror, terrible documentary.
Yes.
That's probably
like,
why nobody.
The word you're looking for is reality.
Yeah, reality, exactly. Did we talk about the Crocs thing in this show?
Probably. I think so, actually.
Oh my god. Well, we don't have to go over. Just Google Crocs and Idiocracy, and you will. If you haven't heard it before, your mind might be blown. Anyway, today we're here to talk about The Fast and the Furious from 2001, which has been on my mind for other reasons than the show for some reason. And it's like, it's because like it keeps popping up in life. And
how so?
I like just kind of everywhere. So it happened. So we talked about Doug Loves Movies last week. And I believe that even outside of my suggestions of a character, an actress that plays a character, a very well-known character in The Fast and the Furious. Outside of that, I believe it might have been mentioned in the episode naturally. And then you also have, I had a thing at work where I think I sent it to you. We don't talk about it. Where there was a trivia, and one of the trivia questions was like, which cast of The Fast and the Furious did this thing? And I'm like, it just keeps popping up, man. It's such a
Oh, I thought you wrote that.
No, I didn't write that.
Oh, that makes it even weirder then.
Yeah, it does. I was reviewing that to make sure it was all accurate. Little did they know, I could have also reviewed the Fast and the Furious stuff. So that was meant to be, how it tied into work and stuff like that. But that was just a thing. No, I did not write that. Yeah, it just keeps popping up, man.
Does your workplace know about this show or about this secret life you have?
God, I hope not. I really hope not. Obviously, I want this show to get popular and be viewed and listened and stuff like that. But there's certain things where I'm like, I hope nobody from work understands anything I do. Granted, I was kind of hired based on things I did before, so we'll see.
I was gonna say
we'll see what happens. Either way, it kind of brings up another point that I wish to always put in the face of the haters, which is you may not like these movies and you may actually hate some of these movies, but you will never escape it in your everyday life.
It sounds like always a threat. Around.
It kind of is.
It's gonna get you.
It's coming for you. It doesn't escape.
A quarter mile at a time. It will get you.
And we're there. There we go. We start off into minute 51, kind of right at where we left off with a lovely little face that we have from our good friend Brian O'Connor, aka Brian Spillner, where he like has this idea of he just got him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we don't have to. Okay. In this minute, because it technically is in this minute, we get another walk. Which is, I think, what I forgot Vince said in the last time we recorded in that minute. He yells "walk," or
I have this
in the
minute.
Last one.
I have this minute starting with him saying his favorite Pantera song. He yells "Cemetery Gates," and then he says "walk." Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he yells "walk," and he pushes him. He gets to stepping.
And Brian's face immediately changes. It's hilarious how much of a change there is. It's like, hey, don't do that. I don't like it.
I don't like being shoved and told to walk.
True.
I like to walk.
He did just kind of get out of being shot to death,
Look, I guess if you're gonna make me choose, I'm gonna choose being shoved. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, I know it's a controversial stance, but I don't want to get shot. I want to be shoved.
It's okay. I'm here to tell you, you're very brave for admitting that.
Thank you.
Everybody, stand up. Everybody, if you're driving in your car listening to this podcast, I need you to
Pull
stand
over.
up and start.
Pull
no
over.
pull over.
Stay-
No pull over.
Oh.
Just stand up and start clapping.
Moonroof or not, stand up, lean out the car window.
Hey, give Daniel a round of applause to your fellow drivers driving next to you. And if you live in LA, try not to get shot.
Get shoved instead.
Get shoved instead. Exactly. So the next frame we go to is a familiar frame from many minutes ago. Where we're back in Chinatown. Is that what we decided this was? Is this Chinatown? I guess it has to be, right?
I forget which Chinatown, but it's our beloved T&K food.
Right. T&K Foods. Food. And we go to, I mean, I don't know how many, there was like a thing, right? There was a thing when this movie came out. If you were a successful street racer or just a successful driver in general, you had a car shop. That's just like that's what gave you the accolade. Like that was your accolade, was I was so successful that I turned all my winnings into having a car shop. Because they all the successful people in this have car shop, right? The Torettos technically have one. Hector has one. Now Johnny Tran has one. And it's just that must be their go-to. I think this must have been a thing that like real life street racers wanted in their careers, right? To have
Their
a car
own shop.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the goal more than being a street racer, because they like to tinker and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you know, I do follow this. I don't know if I don't really follow them. They pop up a lot. There's this Instagram page that their running bit is customer states that ... and then they have all these weird situations where it's like clinking and clanking, and they find out that like whoever installed this thing that is aftermarket, they installed so wrong that it kind of exploded and they just didn't really know about it, or just the most absurd situations that they find themselves in. And it's a hilarious it's a hilarious bit that they can turn into a small Instagram story or Instagram reel and then run with it, which is pretty funny. But yeah, we come back to what is this? Trans is it Wings East? Trans Wings East Automotive. I don't know what the rest of it says.
I can't tell either.
Honestly, it looks like it says it's obviously a different language and nationality, but it looks like it says fucking with PH. But I don't think it says that. Oh, I got this
They
screenshot.
carpool.
Yes,
they
because they
carpool.
finally carpool. I guess it's out of necessity, but still. They finally carpool in Jesse's car.
After all this, I have beef with them carpooling.
Okay, please expand.
They all go to this place. They start to sneak around, which we'll get to in a few seconds, I guess. But they take the brightest colored car. They park it in a well-lit area.
Second brightest, but yeah.
Yeah, but they're trying to like lay low, but they bring the white car and put it under light and then somehow expect to be sneaky. But, you know, it works, so.
Sneaky being, okay, there's another piece. I think it's not in this minute. It's not in this minute. In the next minute, there's a piece where I'm like, you're being so sneaky that you delayed saying something that you didn't need to do. You didn't need to delay saying anything. We'll get to that in the next minute. But
please.
Yeah, this is, you could have took Letty's car, which is like a dark red, right? I guess could you have taken Dom's car? Is that a 2-seater? They look small. I don't know. The point is, Jesse had to be the getaway driver, right? Is he the best driver?
I mean, we find out later, no. In this
he does
moment,
probably have the most comfortable car for 4 people.
I mean, he probably knows the most about his car. So maybe he's got
True.
little tricks and whatnot that others don't because he spent all day researching blah, 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 car, blah, 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 vroom, vroom.
These
I was going
car
to start
parts.
saying, I was going to start actually saying car parts, but not knowing if they did anything. So that seemed like the better
It's got
move.
this carburetor.
Yeah, it got manifolds and injectors of the fuel type and tires
And sparky bits. It's got nice spark plugs.
auxiliary ports, probably.
You think they had auxiliary ports in
No.
2001?
No, I mean this probably had one of those like 2000 CD changers in the trunk with the subs. Up in my right style thing.
What was it? It must have been like 2008 or 9, probably 9, when I started. So I've done a couple things to have auxiliary type things in my cars. I've had and I know some people may not know what the hell I'm talking about, but I used to have a tape cassette adapter that you would stick into your tape player in your car, and that would have a cord that came out of it that you plugged into your phone or your iPod or your MP3 player, whatever it might have been. I think actually at a point I was using an iPod Nano or something like that. And then I had probably 2 or 3 of these, an AM FM signal takeover thing. Yep. And that was fun because depending on where you were and the further you drove, you kind of had to change channels every now and then, because if it wasn't a dead channel in a different area, the channel would start coming through and your music would kind of stop playing.
So I have both of those things still in my house right now.
Katie has one in her car too, yeah.
My old record player was also a tape deck, a CD player, and all that, but I would occasionally like plug in an iPod and like play along to guitar songs and whatnot. So like I put in the cassette thing, the one with the cable, and I plug in my iPod because it didn't have actual auxiliary. And then I had this really old like radio from probably the 60s, maybe the 50s that I got at a thrift store. It's a beautiful, like old antiquated thing, but it's like very pretty. Mm-hmm. So next to that, I have one of those like the tiny version of the FM transmitter things, so I can play podcasts on it. So I still use both those.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, when you found the sweet spot, when you found the right station playing nothing, and probably these days you could probably find a lot of frequencies that aren't playing anything. But back in the day when most people listened to radio, it was a little bit difficult to get the right station because sometimes you would just hear nothing but noise and static playing underneath all your music, which was always weird. Did you ever have those like at-home speaker alarm clock sets where you plug the iPod on top of it?
Yeah, but I hated them. I had these like little foldy things. They sounded like trash, and
they were terrible.
My things never really quite fit in there with the charger, so it was always just like laying next to it, kind of defeating the purpose.
Yeah, I never used it to charge, I don't think. And I'm going to be honest, I think I used it only a couple times to listen to something in my room, because at that point in my life, actually at all points in my life, if I'm listening to something, likely it's with headphones.
Yeah, still.
Yeah, I think even today, especially with like wireless headphones. So like at work, I'm using wireless headphones, and considering everything kind of connects to Bluetooth these days, I just connect it to the Bluetooth. Like my work computer will have it, and then if I need to switch to like my phone, I just swap the connections and it works just fine. The technology we have today is awesome. I will say that. Mm-hmm. It's taken for granted. It's freaking awesome. And then if I can be an old man, we never had this growing up. You guys have it so easy today. We had to search through radio stations to find where to play our iPod.
My mice had a cord, an actual ball in it. I had to take the ball out and clean it, but I never did.
Do you remember when phones started coming out without audio jacks?
I was furious, yes.
Most people were furious. That's kind of the point I was going to make. I think even I was like furious, and I think most of us were furious. And then we kind of just forgot about it because all the headphone companies kind of just made it work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think with headphones, they don't take too much power. So like batteries are pretty okay for the most part. I think there was a transition there where batteries were terrible. And sometimes you even had to use like replaceable like AA or AAA batteries. And that was always annoying. I hated batteries, man. Growing up with like a Game Boy, or at a certain point we tried to make the Game Gear, the Sega Game Gear work.
Oh my god. That
Running
took
through-
like C's, didn't it?
No, it took 6 AA batteries.
That's still a lot of batteries.
And then it ate through those in like an hour. So it sucked.
I actually saw one of those for the first time in maybe 20 years on Saturday. I went to a
Really?
record store. Yeah, I went to a record store. There's also like a vintage game store, and they had just like a case full of old systems, and they had one next to like the gray brick Game Boy, and I'm like, oh my god, do I need a gray brick? No, I absolutely don't. Do I need a Game Gear? No, I need that less.
Man, I don't think I want a gray brick, but I do want a Game Boy Color again, or a Game Boy Pocket. Those were nice. You have one, don't you?
Oh yeah.
The Game Boy Colors and the Game Boy Pockets were perfect. However, with my long fingers, I kind of always needed like the extendo grips that you could put on the back.
Let's see. In this drawer next to me, I have a DS. I have a proper old school Game Boy Advance, the sideways one.
Yep, I had one of those. Loved sticking an old school game cartridge in there and having it stick out the top.
Game Boy Pocket.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Bunch of games. I don't know where my actual gray brick is. I know I have one somewhere. It might be my parents' place, but I don't think it actually works. And and of course, in its little case, zip, zip, zip. Oh, the doorstop.
Nice.
Love the doorstop.
I think the only thing I have here is a 3DS. I think that's the oldest console I have in this apartment. I had a lot of old consoles, and my mom probably has them. She might have sold them. We'll see. I don't know. I ask her about it, and she kind of just ignores the question, so I assume she sold it. But yeah, I never had a gray brick. My grandmother had a gray brick, and I played that a lot.
What did your grandma play on the gray brick? Because this Game Boy Pocket was my grandma's, and she gave it back to me because she's like, I never play it. She always played Tetris. It was her Tetris machine.
Yes. My grandmother played Tetris, but she also played a lot of the slot machine games.
Oh, yeah.
I remember those being a thing. I never understood it because I was like, why are you playing this? Do you just like I mean, it is kind of, it is just the feeling of winning, right? Winning in a slot machine, which is nice, but like it's on a Game Boy, so you're not putting in anything, you're not getting out anything. I guess it's actually better, to be honest.
So in this episode, they sneak around a garage. So let's go back to talking about old video game things. So do you remember they had them in like the toy sections for like $12, and they were about the size of like a Game Boy, and they only played one game, but like the backgrounds were like kind of green. It had like black lines. That's all there was. And there was like Solitaire or Yahtzee or a slot machine game. We had a lot of those in my family growing up because whenever somebody went to the bathroom, we got bored before we had phones that went in there. And that's what we did.
Yep, exactly.
So Solitaire, Yahtzee, I learned how to play all those. Taking a shit.
Yeah. I even got to the point where I was playing the Pokemon trading card game on Game Boy, which was a whole different meta situation.
I just got that for my emulator, and I haven't opened it yet because I know it's going to take my life over. There's a few games like that I'm afraid of.
Yeah, it's a good one because you're like, it's still Pokemon, right? You still love it, and it's got a whole story, and it's actually the mechanics of the card game. So you learn how to play the card game, and you go around and you actually win new cards, and it's like one of the first games like that, and they made a lot of other games in the future just like that, which is fun. But yeah, now my grandmother has she has a Amazon Kindle or Fire. She's an Amazon Fire, and she just has all the slot machine games on there. She still plays those. It's always been her thing. Yeah, I know we're trying to hit our quota for actually talking about the Fast and the Furious. But let's what do we have next? Oh, I did want to bring up something about the fact that this very much became a trope in like heist movies or just getting in somewhere. These skylights were always open.
I had a note about that. Like, why are these unlocked? Why do they know to go to the second one? They don't even try the other ones. They're just like, number 2, bam, let's go.
Right. And it's very much became a trope in like anything where they were trying to break into something because they always did this. I don't know why. It just works. I guess it's easy and convenient for the film. I don't know. But they drop in. They don't give a shit about Brian being sus anymore.
No, right. He's now part of the Scooby-Doo gang.
Yeah, right. So, okay, here's my question for all this. Were they planning on coming here anyway? Even without Brian in the picture?
Why were they in the first place? Like, why are they here now? Yeah.
Well,
I have no idea.
Because like there's two possibilities in my opinion. My brain has two possibilities here. Either they were going to pick up stuff from Hector and just found Brian. And possibly we're gonna go do this anyway. Or they were going to pick up stuff from Hector, found Brian, and Brian gave them the idea to go do this. And who knows? Maybe Dom has ADHD and he totally forgot that they caught him doing something weird. He's like, oh wait, that's a good idea. Let's go do that. I don't even remember what we were here for.
I don't know, man. Maybe a third option. Maybe Vince convinced Dom that they should like stake out Brian, so they're staking out Brian at Hector's place. They were following the sneaky guy and snuck up on him at Hector's. Now they're here, and this is a test to see if he's actually a cop or not, and it's gonna be inconclusive.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know that if we skip, I think. Oh no, it's the last of this minute. Never mind, it's in the next minute. There's a point at which he again puts out a big clue that he's probably a cop, and they don't really care. There's a lot of things that they don't care about in the next minute, but we'll get there in the next minute. If you enjoyed watching this or listening to this and talking about Game Boy games and old things and old pieces of technology that we used to put into cars, make sure you subscribe and like the video if you're watching in the video format. If you're not, if you're listening into audio format, make sure you tell your friends about it. We did get a comment recently from a friend of ours that this is kind of like the most in-depth movie review that you can actually ever do, and we eventually, that's kind of what it is. So make sure you tell your friends and give us a review. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Go to danotage.tv/60second card to find out all our links and where to find us. And with that, we'll see you next time.
Family.